Here's to the women who won't settle, the badasses, the rebels, the ones who know they deserve more, those who know how to get their worth, those who refuse to settle for mediocre careers. You can hate them or you can love them, but the one thing you can't do is ignore them. Why? Because you admire them. Welcome to Her Career Talk. I'm your host, Olivia Jaras. Here you'll find the tools, inspiration, and advice to help you take back and stay in control of your career. You see, as a woman, you already have some incredible tools and skills that can be used to your advantage in the workplace. We're here to show you how to use those tools. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, ladies, I have an incredible guest here today with us. I have Leila Hormozi, a serial entrepreneur, current CEO of 3 companies, literally international companies, ladies. Leila is not only the CEO of Gym Launch, which is probably 4 or 5 years old at this point, which provides the tools for boutique gyms to grow and expand their business. Then you got Prestige Labs, which is a food and supplement company, right? Which is aimed at really delivering like high quality products and shipping them to people right to their doorsteps. And then you've got Alan,
yeah.
Which is really helping agency owners who serve in-person businesses, right, achieve growth via lead generation. Did I get that right? It sounds awfully complicated. I can like, just running one of these companies would be insane. You run a team of 85 people across the globe and you're crushing it. Leila, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. So, ladies, as you know, I'm going to ask Leila all of these harder questions because it sounds like you're crushing it right now and you're doing really, really well. Can you tell us a little bit about your story, where you are now, but then we're going to get into, all right, where were you before this, right? What kind of obstacles did you have to overcome to get to where you are today?
Totally. Looking at where I am now, it's really strategically leading each of the companies. And so how I manage them is that basically we have a shared services department. So that means like finance, HR, IT, basically the back end stuff's all managed by the same teams. And then anything forward facing like marketing, sales, and anyone that talks to the customers, those are all separate. And so right now I basically sit above for our Gym Launch and supplements. We have operators in each of those businesses that report to me. And so I have people that I've trained up and they've been with us for a few years and now they're able to operate a lot of the day-to-day. And then I just advise them and coach them on a lot of strategy. And then on our Allen side, it's a newer business. And so I'm actually a lot more involved in that one in the day-to-day. But that has been a long, long time coming because I was the primary day-to-day person for, 3 years.
So where did you even get started? So now it sounds like you're a serial entrepreneur and you figured out how to really appropriately scale and grow your business, right? But it wasn't always like that. Where were you before you started this journey and becoming the CEO of 3 different companies?
Yeah, it's actually really funny. I was literally a personal trainer. So like I had only been a personal trainer
Awesome.
I'd only been a personal trainer for 7 years, in-person gyms and then online before we started the companies. And so I actually met my now husband, who's also my business partner. And together, that's what we did is we started Gym Launch, then Prestige, and then Allen. And so it's really like, he's the big, big, big vision. Like this is where we're going to be in 5 years, right? Like we're going to be the category king of X. And then I'm the executor of that. And so I'm the one who runs the companies. And it's just been
and you've actually been really successful with all of your launches, right? Like
otherwise I would just
Gym completely crushed the market and is still crushing the market of boutique gym launches and scaling them, right?
Yeah, except, COVID's kind of crushing the market right now, but aside from that.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess that's a whole separate conversation, right? Like how are people pivoting and how are you pivoting with COVID?
We really just did, kind of the by the book, what you might hear a lot of people say, which is we looked at what we have and what we can align with. And about a year ago, we told our gym owners, we released a product that was called Hybrid. And it was a combination of in-person and remote fulfillment for them. And we just went back to pushing that. We said we released this a year ago. We actually got a lot of, I guess you would say, like flack in the marketplace for releasing it. I think it just, Alex and I always see the future, right? So we see that like fitness is going to be online in 10 years. Like gyms will not be here forever. There won't be as many of them at least. And so that means the opportunity size will shrink. And so now we've just said, we've completely focused, and we made our stance, I think 2 days ago as a company, that we are going to be the people who help gyms go online and to help online fitness professionals scale their businesses, because, it's the same skill set applied online. It's something that we've already done ourselves. So it's not something we don't know or are unfamiliar to. And then we realigned the rest of our business segments as well, just to kind of make that easier, worked on better online purchasing for our supplement and meal company, and for our software, just gave it the ability to be versatile for in-person or online.
That is brilliant. But it really is all going online. I mean, before this had a membership. Right now, when are they going to reopen? And even if they do reopen, do you want to go back there, right? And so many people are finding these apps like Peloton or Wodify. Who knows what's happening to CrossFit? Mind blown. But yeah, so much is changing. It really is. So you think gyms are not necessarily going to exist in a couple of years?
I think they'll exist. I just think there's going to be a lot less of them. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if there were 50 to 60% less gyms in 5 years, just because the way I look at it, you just take what was going to happen in 10 to 15 years and we just fast forward it. And then we basically told everybody, like, pretend it's like, remember Blockbuster and Netflix, right? So it's like, what if back then when Netflix had just come out and Blockbuster kept saying, I think their quote was like, we are, fully stand by our in-person experience. We believe our customers value the experience more than, the convenience. Wrong. But
exactly.
Imagine if back then you had given everyone at every customer of Blockbuster, you'd given them a 90-day free trial of Netflix. That's what we just did.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. That is sheer genius. Oh my gosh. No wonder you're crushing it. Wow. But that is so true. That is so true.
No, and that's what I'm like, it's just, and I think a lot of people right now are just arguing with the reality of what is, because emotionally it's very uncomfortable to live in that much uncertainty right now.
Yeah, it is. It really, you've just hit the nail on the head with talking about the emotional uncertainty. That is something that so many people are living with. In particular, what I'm noticing in our field with career-oriented women is that having not only to work, but tend to your family and just being a parent and all of these responsibilities on top of the uncertainty of what the future holds is really generating all of this pressure and anxiety. And how do you, as a CEO of 3 companies, cope with all of your responsibilities, whatever those might be? Like, how do you cope with this anxiety?
I think the first step is being aware of it. So something I think about is like men, right? They're primarily judged on their ability to achieve, right? And so to achieve status as a man, you want to achieve more. You want more money, more power, more X, Y, and Z. I think a lot of men realize that as they get older, and so they seek achievement. Most women traditionally have been valued upon their ability to be a homemaker and what they look like. And so they've put a lot more value on what they look like. The moment that you have a woman that also values achievement, she has 2 competing priorities. And so I always talk to my husband about that. I say, I have competing priorities at all times. Like making sure I'm a good wife, making sure I'm taking care of myself and look good, making sure I'm running the company as well as I can. And so I think that first it's acknowledging that and remembering that it's normal. It's like, it's almost programmed into us. And it's almost like the old programming of like looking a certain way, being a certain kind of wife, mom, etc. And then the new programming of I can achieve and do just what a man is doing over here. You're going to have priorities. And so I think a lot of it, I look at it as energy management rather than time management. I think that thinking of, typically there's areas in each that give you like breathing life into you, right? Like you enjoy spending time with your husband, you enjoy spending time with your kids, you enjoy doing X amount. And when you have a ton of really high priorities, most people think, I really need to do less. But I think it's more of like, you need to do the things that give you more energy, because energy is created and you can create it within yourself at any day, any point in time. It's looking at how you manage your time and what you do in what order at what times, and saying, okay, maybe that means I need to have coffee for 10 minutes with my husband in the morning before I go make the kids lunch and like get bombarded with all the stuff they need from me. And then maybe that means that while I'm working, I put in a 20-minute break to go take a walk and listen to a podcast. And then I come back and make lunch for my family again and prepare all their food and do homeschooling. Right. And so I think it's just.
So find those breathing moments.
Yeah. It's incorporating time, and sometimes those moments might be go and grab, you might think you're really busy, but I bet you if you go and grab dinner with your best girlfriend, you'll be energized.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So, yeah, I think about it more in terms of energy and am I doing enough things? Because I do stuff all the time I don't like doing, right? But am I also doing enough things I do like doing that it weighs out and I'm genuinely happy?
So what do you like doing? Like, what are your kind of hobbies? I'm just curious.
I love working out. It is like a hobby to me, like designing workouts.
Any particular routine or sport that you follow, or?
We have a gym in our garage. So I lift weights. That's what I like doing for the most part. And just challenging myself there. I have a lot of friends that are like nerds in the fitness field, so I get ideas from them. Second thing I like doing is I like cooking. And so homemade stuff, I like doing all that. I like going out to dinner with our friends. I like leaving the house. I like shopping. I take walks like 3 times a day probably. So I like doing that too. But I mean, I honestly think that relationships are what make me the happiest. So being able to spend time with friends and family, that's probably like my number one.
Well, and right now, right, with not being able to see people or like actually be in close contact with everyone, it's really hard. Like I find it's hard. Like I totally hear you. One of my biggest hobbies has always been CrossFit until recently, right? Yeah. And weightlifting and working with a coach. And working with a group of friends at the gym, but now like that's gone. It's completely gone, and it hurts to not get to see your friends. And how do you stay connected? Do you stay connected through Zoom, phone calls, text messaging?
Yeah, I think we live in an area where we didn't know anyone when we moved here, and all my family's away, and our whole company's virtual. My life had already been like, if I'm being really honest, my life didn't change. Like I virtually see most people. The thing that did change is having events to go to. And if I'm being really honest, I have been seeing my friends still because we're all quarantining and just went inside to hang out. So
well, it's your inner circle. It's like your quarantined inner circle, right?
Right.
Like you still
right.
see the that you know and trust and see. Yeah, I feel like the circles are totally expanding. Now, Leila, can I ask you a little bit though about pre-CEO of 3 successful companies? What did that life look like? Where you were at a gym? I highly hesitate that it was like overnight, super successful, no pain, no roadblocks on the road.
Yeah, it was the first year and a half were definitely the hardest because, it's basically like me and Alex met, and then 6 weeks later we started working together. And what we were doing was we actually would go. So we would market for a gym, and then one of us would fly out to that gym and for 1 month stay there and sell 150 to 200 members into the gym. And then we would go the next month to another place. So I would be in like Hawaii, he would be in Virginia. At one point I was literally living in a house with like 3 strangers, which was really weird. It was like Airbnb or something. And it was for someone who, I'm a younger woman in their 20s. I mean, it just put me in a lot of places of discomfort, being completely alone in cities I'd never been in, staying in motels, hotels, Airbnbs, traveling alone for extended periods of time. Like, I think I was 23 when we started doing it. So it was a lot emotionally. Yeah. And then having the pressure of, we said, we're going to get you 100 new members. And so making sure I can sell that many people into a gym, it was a lot of pressure.
in those early days, like, how did you overcome that barrier? Because I think what I'm hearing you say is probably going to resonate with a lot of women here who are like, perhaps in between jobs, they're like, I have to network my way and find this next big opportunity. And it really is ultimately selling, right? How did you find those 100 customers when you were like, it doesn't look likely, or when the pressure's on, right? How do you not lose faith, and how do you actually go about executing the networking?
Well, frankly, we were doing direct marketing for those gyms. So we advertised via Facebook and Instagram to get people to opt in. And then I called them and just said, come in and let me tell you what we've got. Like, I think it's like at some point you have this realization, whether it's getting referrals, which that's what I did when I was actually a trainer, is you just go get referrals. You go to Whole Foods, you'd go to the local beach, you would go to like the club upstairs. Like, they made us go everywhere and try to get referrals for the gym. It was insane.
So how would you do that? Like, you'd just go to the gym and start talking to people and say like, hey, do you want to come try out the gym? Or hand out cards?
I mean, I just get their name and number. I mean, capture their information, right? What's your name, number, and email? And then what time can I see you? Okay, let me put it in your phone for you. I think it's just like, what's the other option, right? Like, the other option is that I never get what I want because I couldn't sell. Like, that's not like, I think it's like tolerance, right? And like, if I look at who I'm going to be in 20 years, this is such a small obstacle to get there, which is just learning how to sell something. And I think a lot of people overcomplicate it and they make it like, I have to sell someone. And I'm like, you're literally just helping someone make a decision. And if you're selling that thing, then it's probably because you think it's the right decision for them to make. So now you're just nudging them to make it. And people need pressure to make decisions. We wouldn't have managers in companies if people didn't need help making decisions.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. And listen, this brings me into a topic which is so dear to my heart, women and selling themselves. It's exactly what you're saying. We have, as women, it seems like it's a deeply ingrained trait that we have a hard time selling ourselves and pitching ourselves to other people. But it's exactly what you're saying, right? You're the solution to their problem, to their deep-seated needs. I love how you're framing the idea that you're the solution to them. Like, how do you tend to overcome that obstacle? Can you walk me through your logic a little bit more in depth?
Yeah, what obstacle?
Like the selling, right? For you now, it's not an obstacle, right? But you at some point you were like, before you actually connected with that person and sold yourself or sold the membership, right? You had to just get over that anxiety. And that's something that I find so many women in particular deal with. Guys, not so much, but women absolutely deal with it.
Yeah, I think guys feel it. They just suppress emotions and women express emotions. But honestly, I do not think, and I've gone over this with so many different people that I think are much smarter than me. I think the only way for you to get over an emotion is just through it. And so when I look at like someone who's successful and they've made it past that hump and someone who's not, it's because the successful person feels just as much anxiety as the person who's not successful. However, they can still take action even when feeling that anxiety. And I mean, I can tell you, like, you know, I've had panic attacks and I've had, you know, I had moments where I was just breaking down when we were doing this. I mean, like shaking, just so nervous and so much pressure. And I was like, but I have to just take one step forward. Like, if I don't, then I'll never get to the future I want. And I think it's being able to create the habit of, even though you feel horrible, you feel anxious, you feel hopeless, you feel like you're not good enough, just take action anyways. And I think that that's the only thing that you can do, because then when you get to the other side, the next time you do it, you only feel 60% of what you felt that time. And the next time it's 40%, and the next time it's 20%. And then one day it ain't no thing. You know what I mean?
It's not even an issue.
Yeah. I think sometimes we, as women, we get too much in our heads and we're too much about, I feel this way, I feel, and I'm like, but feelings are caused by thoughts, right? Thoughts create feelings, which you take action on, which create a result. And so you have to rewire that and say, you know, I'm going to think differently. I'm going to think, I feel this way. That's cool. I don't need to believe it. I can just take action.
I can take action in spite of what I'm feeling. Now, how do you deal though so like that first hump, when a lot of women take action and they get rejected, what I found is so many women just recoil and never come out of their corner, right? Whether that's negotiating for a raise or putting themselves out in the market. And if I'm honest, what I've seen a lot of times is like women leave the workforce to say like, you know what, I want to go take care of my family, which is obviously completely respectable and admirable. But a lot of them, if we're really being honest, are doing it because they've in one way or another felt rejection in the workforce. And that makes them kind of like go back to this other space, even though part of them truly wants to either stay or at some point go back into the workforce. But they don't because they feel like a failure.
That's so sad.
It is. It really, I mean, it is and it isn't, right? They're shifting gears, they're devoting their lives to their families. And if I'm honest, like, I think I felt some of that too, right? When I went and took care of my kids, well, I had a job to go back to, right? But I think the second round, with my second kid, I felt so much pressure, so much anxiety that needed to be overcome from me going back into the workforce, that I felt like if I went back in, I was going to be a failure. If I stayed out, I was also going to feel like a failure. But like, you're weighing your options and there's this huge anxiety, this roadblock that you have to overcome. Kind of like what you're saying. How do you push yourself through that feeling of like, oh my gosh, I'm failing at this, right?
So my friend Brooke talks about this a lot, and she truly lives it, which is like, the situation is neutral. So the problem's not the situation, it's how you think about it. And I mean, I don't like to get all woo-woo, it's your mindset, but it really is. I mean, a customer could complain. You could take that as my business is going to fail and everyone's going to leave. Or you could take that as, I am so glad that my customers trust me enough to actually tell me feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I truly now see it like, I'm so glad that they like actually care enough and I think people want to stay when they complain, because if you didn't want to be there, you wouldn't care enough about me, you would just leave. And so I think it's the same when you look at, the situation of you're feeling like a failure. It's like the situation isn't making you a failure. Your mind and the thoughts that you're choosing to believe are making you a failure. And so every time that I felt and I feel like I'm not good enough of a CEO, I'm not a good enough wife, I'm not a good enough friend, I'm not a good enough daughter, whatever it may be, I go back and I'm like, all right, what are I'm feeling this way. I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling despair. I go back and I'm like, what are the thoughts that are going through my head all day that are subconscious, right? They're just kind of playing in the background. And I like pick them out. I'm like, oh yeah, F this. Like, I don't want that thought. That thought's not helping me, right? Like, instead, I need to intentionally think this. Like, I am a successful CEO. I am a wonderful, loving wife. I try extremely hard and will always succeed despite shortcomings in the short term. Or, I feed myself more positive things. And I think I would urge people to do the same. Is that kind of like what I said before? It's like the woman who is able to overcome that she's not facing anything less than the woman who doesn't overcome it. She's just choosing to respond differently. You are response-able. You are able to respond however you choose.
Exactly. Now, do you have a particular methodology when you see yourself kind of being stuck by those subconscious thoughts? Like, what do you do? But is there a particular process that you follow?
Yeah, it's actually my friend Brooke Castillo. I followed her for like 5 years. She owns, it's called the Life Coach School, but I think it was like 7 years ago. I heard her talk about the thought model, which is your thoughts create your feelings, which create the action, which create the result. And it's really simple. But it's a lot of, if you study any forms of meditation, it's pretty much the same process that most of them take you through. It's just spelled out pretty simply with her. So if I'm having a bad result, then I look at, okay, what's the action I'm doing that's giving that? I think a lot of the times the action is avoidance, right? What's causing my avoidance? Well, I feel like I'm going to fail if I do this thing. Like, okay, feeling that way? What are the thoughts that are coming into my head that I'm choosing to believe that are making me feel that way? Well, the thought that I'm having is, I'm not good enough, and, I'm the reason that this company isn't growing faster, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's such a horrible thought. That's not going to help me do anything. And so then I just kind of like visualize, almost in a sense, I visualize a car, and it's like your thoughts are like cars going past you. You can choose to get in and ride along, or you can choose to just watch them go around the street, and you can just walk across by yourself. So I just choose not to engage with the thought, but just continue taking action anyways.
Not get in the car.
Yeah. It's like, I'm not going to get in the car. I'm just not going to get in the car.
But that feels like such a difficult step to take. I'm trying to envision that for myself, right? And putting myself in a situation or thinking about it, like how it's hard for us to not get into the car.
It is hard, but I don't think anything easy is going to solve like the reason that someone's not succeeding.
That is sheer genius. What you just said is brilliant.
I was like, you hate it? You love it? I don't know.
No, but it's so freaking true. Because seriously, whenever something truly comes easy, it's probably not worth it.
Never. Like, I mean, I think about it with people like, congratulations on the companies. And I'm like, it's like sucked half my soul. It's hard. Like, I'm like, it's so hard. Being successful is hard. Not being successful is hard. At least being successful has reward to it, right? And I think, I don't know where I was going with that, but I think that it's just, you're kind of choosing your kind of hard, and then it's
right. But it's a different mentality. Like it's exactly. I mean, I totally catch your drift. Like, and I think it's so appropriate right here. Being stuck in that rut and not taking action is just as hard.
Yes.
And less rewarding than pushing yourself over that hump and making that additional connection, asking for that raise, moving yourself towards a greater career. When you're moving further up in that career ladder, you're getting paid more.
Yeah.
And you're a little bit more satisfied with your career.
Yeah. And I mean, if that's what you're talking about, like negotiating for a raise, I mean, I can tell you that like the people who come to me for a raise, because I teach, if you would like to get a raise, then I think that you should have practiced what you're going to tell me, right? And at that point, I know that you're ready for the raise because you've become the person who can approach me about it. That's how I see it. So from an employer standpoint, I appreciate when someone comes with a thoughtful argument for why they should have a raise. I mean, I think it's showing that they are confident in their work, which you cannot become confident without taking action to become confident, which means that you are putting in the time to become good at what you do.
Do you fake it till you make it?
I think
in the process of becoming confident?
I honestly, I said this like 3 years ago. I think you outwork your self-doubt. I think you have to, and it doesn't mean like work in the office. It means like mental work plus skill work. Plus, I think if somebody reads 15 to 20 minutes a day about the thing they're trying to get better at, or they invest in a course or in coaching and they're participating in that in itself will give you confidence. Yeah, that in itself gives you confidence. And so I think aggressively pursuing getting better at the thing that you're not good at, that gives you confidence even if you're not good at it. Because that's what I did 4 years ago. And if I were to look now and compare how I ran the company, which like exploded 4 years ago, to what I run now, I would be like, oh my gosh, you're horrible. But I was so ignorantly confident because I was working so hard at getting better. So I wasn't actually good, but I was trying so hard to be good that I believe. Yeah, it's like if you try hard enough, the belief comes with it. You might not be there, but you believe you are because you're trying so hard.
And eventually it catches up, right? And you actually get there. Yeah. Now, something that we were talking about before coming on live is CEOs and the masculine impression of them. And you were getting to some really amazing points there too. Can we go back to that conversation and rehash it?
I was saying that of all the groups I'm in, two in particular that I'm in.
These are like masterminds or?
Yeah, one's like a coaching program and the other one's a mastermind. it's pretty much, it's all men. So I'm the only woman. Yeah. And I was saying, I think that a lot of women, even if they run their own company, they don't associate with the word CEO. Like it is like this, you think of a man when you think of it. And so I think a lot of them are afraid to say that they're the CEO, or they just say like, I'm the founder or the owner, but they won't say CEO. I've just seen it multiple times, and it kind of like came to light when I was thinking about it, talking to you.
Well, I feel that here's the thing. We have this as a society, we have this like preconceived notion of what a good negotiator looks like, and someone who's able to advocate for themselves. That's someone who's assertive, direct, uncompromising, someone who's willing to not stop until they achieve their vision. When you really think about it, all those traits are innately masculine, right? So a female embodying those traits, we risk, instead of coming across as assertive, that we're going to come across as aggressive, right? But I think that when it comes down to it, if you're truly able to understand how to influence behavior and persuade your way to the top, you can come across as assertive. You can come across as direct without risking coming across like that guy that you don't want to come across as.
No, I agree. I think it's tone more than anything. I have multiple female leaders in the company, and we talk a lot about when you're giving feedback, taking feedback, addressing a team, addressing a vendor, addressing someone you're negotiating with. It's tonality more than it is even what you say. And so I think that it's a lot of women, like I've had to coach 2 women in our company who they particularly come across as the B word, right? I get it from everybody. They're like, they are AX, and it's because they're assertive and aggressive and driven and direct. And I was like, listen, I've been where you are, and it's literally just, it's your tone, and then it's their face. And I think if you can just, it doesn't even have to be the words you say, but if you can just work on the tonality of when you're speaking to someone, and then your facial expressions, I think that does a lot more.
Like, really harnessing the nonverbal communication and how expressive you're. See, that's the thing that people don't realize, is that your body language, whether you want it or not, like, you're conveying so much with your nonverbal communication. And people
100%.
are reading it.
Yes.
More so than they're actually listening to your words. And that's something that as women, what I've researched is that we're actually better than men at interpreting that information and internalizing it and turning it into feedback that then feeds our emotions and our actions. So that women don't harness this is just mind-blowing, right? We have this innate ability because we can multitask in a way that a guy can't really, or at least generally speaking. Guys don't multitask as much as we do, to harness in all this information, but we don't take advantage of it. Do you know why? Do you have a sense as to why we don't harness this?
I think a lot of women are just always waiting on someone else to do it, because they're used to waiting on someone else to kind of give the final order. A lot of women wait on a man to give the final order, or a boss to give the final order, or they're less willing to be the one who decides and takes a firm stance on something. And so if you're negotiating, if you don't have certainty in what you cannot do, cannot decide, or won't decide for yourself, I think it's a lot harder to come into a negotiation. Like if I went to a negotiation thinking I have to get these people to back me up, or what if these people are mad I make this decision, or I negotiate this, or whatever, or, you know, and the fact that you've had to do that for so long in your life, and you may have, and it's been a pattern, it shows up when you're negotiating, even if you're the final decision maker, because you're just so used to not being, you know what I mean?
Right. Now, have you figured out a way for yourself? I mean, you must have, if you're in the position that you are. How do you overcome that?
I think part of it, it's partially self
through.
and partially who I surround myself with.
All right. Tell me a little bit more about this. Who do you surround yourself? Like, how do you see yourself?
I would say, I'm
This
going
is your
to be
goal,
honest.
by the way, ladies. I hope everybody's really putting attention into this because it's serious, serious gold. Thank you, Leila.
You're funny. Thanks. Honestly, like who I married was the biggest choice. So I married somebody and I partnered with somebody in business who treats me no differently because I'm a woman. He doesn't ask less of me. He doesn't go easy on me. He literally would always, the first time that we started working together, he's like, yeah, figure it out yourself. Like it sounds bad. Like, oh my gosh, he would say that to you. But like, I remember when we first met and I was doing my own thing online, and then we were both kind of simultaneously working on our own things. And I said, well, you know how to do this and I don't. And he said, right, but it wouldn't be fair for me to teach you. You should learn it yourself. I can't do it for you. And I was like, wow, I've never had someone in my life, and I wanted it. And that's why I was so attracted to him. That made me, it was like, with him, I can become the woman I want to be because there's zero suppression. Second to that is like those on my team and the people we work with. I think that I wouldn't tolerate somebody thinking less of me. And so taking less authority from me because I'm a woman. I'm careful about who I bring into my circle and into our company. I want people who just appreciate mastery and skill no matter who you are. And so I think it's important to surround yourself with people like that. And I do not surround myself with women who tell me I work too much. I don't surround myself with that because I think I've heard that. And I don't tell you mom too much. I don't tell you wife too much. So like someone telling me I work too much, I don't think that there's a right or wrong. There's just what's right or wrong. There's what's right for you, right? And I think there's also different phases of life. And so for women, I try to surround myself with women who have large goals like me.
Ambitious women. So what else do you try to avoid? Like energy vampires. I totally gravitate away from negative people who don't believe in my vision. And sometimes those are your closest like people, like, family members who are like, you're crazy. You're crazy for doing what you're doing.
Yeah. I don't have any friends I had from college, like not one. So if that's to tell you, yeah, because, I was a different person back then. Like I went through so much. Like I was into drinking and drugs. I got arrested. Like I was a hot mess. And every time I saw those people again, even when I was a completely different person, they still only talked about the past and they only talked about who I used to be and only spoke almost limiting beliefs onto me. And it was like there was no productive conversation. I didn't feel like I was learning from them. I didn't feel like we even had a good relationship that added value. And so it just felt limiting. And I think also, as much as you want to say it, like if somebody has limiting beliefs about themselves and you hang out with them, you are going to take in those limiting beliefs. Whether you think you are or not, it's subconscious. You can't control the subconscious.
It's going to happen. Yeah, I completely, wholeheartedly agree. Now, with that in mind, ambitions. What are your big future ambitions? Like, what's next? CEO of 4 companies? Like, where are you going?
We have a master plan to unite them a little bit more because they all kind of feed each other in a way. But that being said, it's really been a focus on getting the last few members of a leadership team that we need. We have a great leadership team right now because we're growing, especially on, we have an agency and then a software side. They're both growing quickly. It's really getting new leadership in there and looking at the vision. Our vision is really, using the tools that we have to transform really a segment of the marketing industry, particularly with agencies, using the tools that we've built and the systems that we've built and teaching them how we've done it with, our other business. And that's kind of what we have been focused on recently. It's been having a lot of traction. And so it's to come because it's just in the works right now. We're staying quiet, but it's growing really fast, even though we're quiet, which is cool.
That's awesome. Now, personally speaking, where do you see yourself in a couple of years?
Yeah. I see myself at a point where I have a complete executive team built out. We have 4 people of the executive team, 2 of which are me and my husband/partner. I see myself probably having 2 to 3 more and being completely out of any day-to-day of any of the businesses. And also, honestly, advising on the boards of other businesses. So we've recently started doing that with just 2, but I absolutely love it, advising on how to build their teams, how to build the infrastructure, the strategy, all that. And I've joined the board of a charity as well, and I really am enjoying that. And so I would like to be able to kind of give back more by doing that, in terms of looking at charities that we can partner with, or just getting more involved in the particular one that we are. And then also partnering with people who are like where I was 4 or 5 years ago and helping them grow their businesses.
So is this an audience that you're kind of like, this is your heart?
Totally.
Grows and like what that you want to look back and say like, all right, now I've made it. Like now I can help you guys come up. Like, is this, who does this person look like that you're talking about?
I mean, honestly, women that are running companies. I think there's a lot of women that I happen to meet who are running companies because they come to me and say, I'm running a company. And I've been putting in the background together like a book. I'm not going to sell anything. I have nothing to sell, but at some point I want to release the book. And basically, it's just how I think there's just so many women that have limiting beliefs about their abilities, and young women too, like women from 20 to 50. Either I'm too old or I'm too young. And I just want to help those. I want to break all of their beliefs about why they can't do what they are actually already doing, so that they can do it even better. And so I think about just giving back like that, giving back to like, I think we always want to go back and help who we were
years ago with the limited beliefs. Oh my gosh. Can you like, please put this book into like the fast track and come back and tell us about it? Because your words right now, I can tell you they're going to be resonating with so many women who are like, holy smokes. Like, she's the CEO of 3 companies, and she's saying that she was like me one day back then, right? All of these women are in this position. So seriously, I am not kidding. Please fast track this book, because there are so many women who really need to hear this right now.
I appreciate that. Maybe I won't go to bed at 8:30 every night.
You go to bed at 8:30? Yes, I do too. My like bedtime is usually, unless we're doing like these in our we do this thing called the Her LinkedIn Challenge, where we help women overhaul their LinkedIn profiles, and we do a cocktail hour that starts at 8:30, where we get to meet, kind of like a meet and greet online. It's crushing to like have to stay so late, but I love it though, because you get to hear all of their stories, where all of these vulnerable women are like, yeah, my life sucks right now because the economy just stank. I just lost my job, or like I'm in a toxic work environment, and all of these, you hear all these amazing stories, but I hear you on the bedtime. I'm an early riser, so I need to go to bed really early too.
Same, like 4 a.m.
Yeah. But is 4 a.m. like your most productive hour? Do you take some time for yourself in the morning?
Totally. I journal every morning, so I do that. It takes like 7 minutes. And then I read for like 20 minutes, and then usually do a little bit of work, and then I work out, and then shower and make breakfast and all that kind of stuff. Take care of the other people in life. And then I start working, like seeing the team at like 9.
Yep. That's awesome. Yeah. I like, as much as people are like, oh, you wake up so early, like it's the golden hour. Like waking up early is just phenomenal. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This has seriously been so insightful. I really hope that you come and join us again. And I hope that next time you have, even if it's in the works, right, a little bit further along your book, because the advice you've given us today has been sheer gold. Seriously, sheer gold on how to really shift that mindset when you're confronted with the anxiety of putting yourself first in your career. Like that advice that you gave us was so valuable. Thank you.
I appreciate that. And then thank you for having me on.
Well, ladies, thank you. Thank you so much. Leila, can they find you on Instagram or social media or somewhere? Where can they follow you and your inspiration?
Yeah. My Instagram handle is at Leila N. Hormozi.
At Leila N, like the letter N, Hormozi. All right. Ladies, we're going to post that link in here. And we're also going to put a link to your 3 companies so that they can learn more about you, this incredible powerhouse of a woman, so that we can continue to follow your success. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Leila.
Thank you.
All right, that is it for this episode. And if you're ready to take things to the next level, I invite you to check out our free salary coaching Inner Circle Facebook group on, well, of course, Facebook. You just go ahead and search for Salary Coaching Inner Circle on your Facebook search bar, and it will surely show up. You'll get live access to me, the opportunity to engage with our super powerful guest speakers, and you'll get the support of hundreds of career-oriented, like-minded women just like you. So check it out, and also be sure to catch out next episode with more